Hey, and welcome to this week's podcast. Today, we're talking on something that we think is really important for raising happy and healthy kids, and that's values. You know, values, they act as an internal compass, they shape our relationship with our kids and also our kids' relationship with the world. So, I wanted to talk with Jane about this because I can see just having older kids how the values that we've instilled in them as young kids are really shining through and helping them, become healthy, functioning adults that are doing good things in the world. So
Yeah.
let's start with what are values, Jane? Like, in case
Yeah.
someone doesn't really understand what we're talking about when we talk about values, what are values?
Yeah. So values are like our core beliefs, our principles, and kind of the priorities that guide us in our life. And for me, I really love that we're talking about values because a lot of us aren't aware of what our values are.
Yes.
And some of our values and belief can be really helpful, and some of our unconscious ones can be really detrimental. And we can inherit our values from our culture and from our family. And I know for me, I really wished I had been more clear on my values earlier on with my family. So I would have loved to have sat down with my family and kind of got clear on what might our values be.
Yes.
And because values can, now I'm kind of realizing values can make making decisions a lot easier. Values can make kind of just how you live your life a lot clearer. So for me, I've become aware that health is one of my main and most important values. And when I know that, I can make decisions that align with taking care of that value of health. Another one of my important values is family. And when we know what our values are, we can kind of make decisions that support us to uphold those values. So I look back over my life and I think of me as a young parent, not ever stopping to think what my values were.
Mm.
And I just think it can be easier when you actually really sit down and go, well, what are my values and what do I want? What as a family, what do we want our values to be?
I think also as a young parent, for me, understanding, like, I often come back to my values when it comes to keeping boundaries solid,
Yes,
and me,
yes,
because I found it difficult sometimes to be really solid in my boundaries. And there were
yeah,
certain, interestingly enough, my most important values, I was
yeah,
actually quite good at holding boundaries because I understood those values through and through.
yeah,
Like, they were, like you, health was a huge one. So boundaries around the foods that we kept in the house and so forth was something I always felt really solid with. But then there were other values that were important to me as well, perhaps not so important as health, that I got a bit
yeah,
wishy washy on because I didn't fully understand what it was that I really valued, I suppose, beyond health.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I'm coming to when my kids are
Yeah.
nearly 19 and 21. It's like, wow, I wish we'd sat down and had more family conversations around values. And because I realized just how important they are as like you said, a compass.
Yeah.
And as to give your life meaning and purpose and to kind of help you decide what's important, what you're going to bring into your life and what you're going to let go of. So for me, like I said, family is another one, and friendships. And when that's not a conscious value, when it's kind of sitting in the background, then I might make decisions based on things that aren't aligning with that value. So I might take on more work that gives me less time with my family and less time to connect with my friends. But if I've kind of really aware of that value, and for me, that awareness of my value and that recognition that when I'm really living aligned with that value, so when I'm putting the time aside for my family and friends, I feel good.
Yes.
Like, it kind of sustains me as a person.
Yeah.
Whereas when I let that value slide, I start to feel not so good. I start
Mm.
to kind of wonder what's wrong, and and forget to the importance of that value for me.
And I
So,
think as well, when we perhaps uh, let a value slide, for me, when I let value slide around my own health and self care, for example, I feel that it impacts on my whole family because not only am I letting myself down in a way, but I'm also role modeling to my kids that, I have this value and I'm not upholding it. I'm not
totally.
demonstrating,
Yeah.
um, upholding, taking care of my own health first.
Yeah. Yeah. And I even think like there's so many other values that I think feel good when you live by them. Like, even I'm just thinking the value of respect, like in a
Yes.
family, to respect one another, to respect that you'll want to do things different, to respect differences of opinion, and within community, to respect diversity.
Yes.
Curiosity is a value, to be
Mm.
curious about yourself and other people, and kindness is a value. There's so many cool values that I think we forget, or they just get, we don't remember the importance of them, and we
Yes.
don't talk about them enough, I don't think. And I know that's a regret of mine, that I didn't talk about this enough with my kids, and
Yeah.
to live a
Same.
life where you're aligned with your values. And
Mm.
because I think it gives you I don't know, a sense of integrity, and a sense of living a life, like I said before, that is meaningful,
Yeah.
and where you kind of, I don't know, it's just a great thing, I think, to live a life aligned with your values.
Yeah. And so you spoke early about, we often take on values from our own family, both good and
Yes,
perhaps
yes,
values that don't serve us so well.
yeah.
But within the family unit, what happens, or like not what happens, but how do you feel that the family unit interacts and integrates when there are different values brought?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important, even as caregivers, to be aware, like, of
Yeah.
how your values are different.
Yes.
And because I think when that remains unconscious, then you're
Yes.
kind of constantly pulling against each other. Because, say,
Yeah.
someone values connection and time, and another person values alone time, and that they're opposing values. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I want to honor your value, and how do we meet in the middle to parent?
Yes.
And as a family, then what's our family value, and how do we meet the needs of all of us and all of our values? And how, I
Mm.
think just bringing values into the open is super
Yeah.
helpful,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to get really
Absolutely.
clear as parents, like, on what you value, and what you need to kind of bring that value to life, and yeah, how you work as a family to honor one another's values, but then to also create family values. So there's a way that you come together. And even, yeah, I'm just really aware more and more of the importance of us as beings that need one another. And
Mm.
I think our culture's been very much on the individualistic, and kind of just doing your own work for you. And I'm more and more aware of, well, we actually need that to spread out. I need to,
Mm.
yes, be aware of myself, and then be aware of how I impact the other, and then be
Yeah.
aware of how we meet in the middle, kind of thing, as a family and then as a community.
Yeah, and also, like we have this, I feel like we're more and more, there's more of this black and white,
Yes, yes,
vision of the world, and whereas we're all shades of grey. And like
yes,
you said, by having a conversation around values and, perhaps respecting other people's values, but also holding that boundary of your own value is really important, and not imposing your values on anyone else. I see that happen particularly in
yes,
the online space a lot,
yes,
is that
yes,
everyone is, we all have our own values around things and opinions about things, but there's so much of this, obviously online is just a cesspool of opinion, really. There's just
Yes.
thousands of opposing opinions about pretty much everything out there.
Yeah.
And just like you said, by honoring and respecting other people's values, it doesn't mean you have to take on their opinions or their values or have
No.
a disagreement with them.
Yeah.
I don't ever understand why people get into these heated, sometimes really awful and unkind debates about things where there are opposing values, because
Yeah.
we're all entitled to our own thoughts and opinions, and if they don't align with you, then just scroll on. That's my
Yes.
view on
Yeah.
it, rather than entering into heated, unkind debate, I suppose.
Yes. Well, and I think this is a real, well, for me, like I said, it's a regret I have that I didn't have more of these conversations with my kids,
Yeah.
because I think that's really missing. We're losing the skills for having
Yes.
conversations when people have different values.
Yep.
And one, I think, because we're out of awareness of what our values are, and we're not aware of the biases we bring
Yep.
and our own conditioning that can kind of cloud our judgment. And I just think it's great to be able to have these conversations with your family and your kids about, what does inclusivity mean as a value?
Yep.
And how can you be inclusive?
Mm.
And is that a value you want, as a person and as a family? Or what does integrity mean as a
Yeah.
family and as an individual? And just, I feel like, the world swung so far in a direction, and I feel like where values haven't been, we've lost touch with the significance of
Yeah.
living a life where we uphold our values and we have a moral compass. And I can really see that. I feel like people are craving that again, because without
Yeah.
values, it's hard to find purpose. And without
Mm.
purpose, we're kind of like flapping about. It doesn't feel good. We're humans, all of us need to feel like our life can be meaningful.
Yes.
And I feel like values and knowing you're upholding those values can help bring that feeling of having meaning in your life. If you can kind of go out and help somebody, or notice someone not being included and be inclusive and know,
Mm.
oh wow, I really touched that value today, and that
Mm.
feels good. That kind
Mm.
of
Mm.
makes me remember it's the small things,
Yeah.
it's the little things, and upholding those values and kind of having a path for myself that values I feel like can create.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just hearing you talk, these conversations are amazing dinner time conversations, really, aren't they? Like, we
Yes,
often talk about
totally.
the importance of, sharing meals as a family and conversation
Yes.
at the dinner table.
Yeah,
And, perhaps this is another conversation point for families to think about, that would be really
totally.
valuable beyond the dinner setting.
Yes, I think
Mm.
I agree, because
Yeah.
the kids I see in my practice, they're so savvy and they love this kind of this, and especially younger kids, like they're like little sponges. They
Yeah.
soak all this up. And I
Yeah.
think having values again and having that meaning helps with the massive issues that kids are exposed to today.
Yeah.
Like there's
Like you
so
said, that sense
much.
of purpose is such an important point.
Yeah, and understanding, like, seeing bullying and being like, well, what can I do? And it's like, well, you can be inclusive and you
Yeah.
can be kind.
Mm.
And yeah, so kind of giving kids that moral compass and giving
Mm.
them insights into why values are important, and that values are an individual thing, but that our individual values impact our family and the greater community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great discussion. This has been great. Another short, sweet one, but I think a
Yes.
really important subject. And as I said, something that, that we can both reflect upon and realize that, the ways that we have brought values into our family. But like you said, I think, perhaps talking about values is something that I know I've never really thought about doing. We just I suppose inadvertently we have talked about some of our values as a family, but
Yeah.
could have done better. Always can do
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Well, I think you model them as a
Yep.
parent. But for
Yes,
me, like I know that I've modeled a lot of good values and
of
probably
course.
some not so great values,
Yeah.
but I just wish I'd made it more transparent and more
Yes.
kind of explicit,
Yes.
like values really guide your life and they really help you make choices in your life because they do.
Yes.
You can, if you've
Yep.
got a big decision to make, you can have your values in front of you and you can go, does this align with my values?
Mm.
And to me, they're so helpful.
Yeah, it's something that they teach you in like a lot of business schools and stuff is to write
100%.
down your company values, but yet a lot of people
Yes.
don't do that on a personal level. So,
Yeah.
often
Yeah.
company values will reflect personal values, but
Yeah.
sometimes they don't as well. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a good activity and a good, like you said, a good compass for us all to kind of be guided by.
Check out. There's
Mm.
heaps of values charts online. So
Yep.
if anyone's interested in and doesn't know where to start, there's heaps of
Yeah.
values charts that kind of help you get clearer on what your
Yes.
values are.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They outline all of the different values and you can really feel which resonates. And I always start with those sorts of things. I've definitely worked off lots of values charts over the years and yeah, I'm terrible at choosing. So I end up with like 150 that that resonate.
Yes.
And then,
Yeah.
often I'm coached to like, you have to pick five. It's like, oh God, how could I
Yes.
choose five? There's so many here. I want them all.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's it when you really sit with it, there are generally those core values are the ones that are important and the ones to discuss for sure. Thank
Cool.
you. What a great chat.
Yes. Thank you.